Well, when I was first introduced to AgriGro West, I had a client, Nathan Keene, and this was when soil health and all these microbes and microbiology companies started showing up here about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And he says, well, let's go to a meeting. So we go and I sit and we listen, and Ross Nielsen's up there. And he said one thing that struck me of, this is not a magic bullet. This will not save your farm, but it's just another tool for the toolbox. And I sat there and I thought, and I said, okay, this is real. Every other company will sit there and say that they can save the farm and all you need to use this and it's gonna rain gold. But AgriGro West was the first real company that when I sat and listened, that they were telling the truth. They didn't fluff anything up. They had third-party data from universities, all these different trials, nothing from themselves that said that they did this. It was all from other people saying, yep, what they are saying is true. My name is Briggs, and we live in beautiful, flowery Montana. I am the owner of Element Cropping Systems. So I am a farm consultant. We run about 300,000 acres out here in central Montana, something that we call the Golden Triangle. And I also have a few clients over in eastern Montana, as some would call the Platinum Corner of Montana. And what I do is I take the grower through the whole growing season. I don't show up at seeding and leave at spraying. I'm with my growers from January 1 to December 31st, buying chemicals, contracting grain for them, getting farming plans ready to go, watching the season, preparing for weather. We truly go at it together, and I don't leave them alone and they don't leave me alone, and that's the way it needs to be. It needs to be a relationship with how we farm. So when we get there, we go make fertilizer recommendations, chemical recommendations, seeds, varieties, what crops to plant, what's the best option for my growers and how to do things. And by having such a large grower group, I also use my company as a buying power. So when we buy chemicals, like RT3, we all use Roundup. And so we'll go and we'll talk to Nutrien or these larger chemical companies and do bulk orders. And that allows my guys to have discounts that nobody else is able to get. And the same thing with grain contracting. When I show up to do deals with grain, I'm bringing 300,000 acres with me and millions upon millions of bushels. And when an elevator or a grain company is buying, it's much easier to deal with just one person. So we're able to get premiums. And sometimes when we do these premiums, we're also using products like AgriGro. Not only do I do grain contracting and chemical buying, we also, throughout the growing season, we need to make the best decisions. So my goal for my growers is for them to make money. At the end of the day, these are businesses, but we also need to remember that soil and farm ground, they're not making more of it. So we need to do the best for the soil as well as for the pocketbook. Not everyone needs to go out there and cut 100 bushel wheat. If you can cut 70 bushel wheat consistently, you're far more better with the healthy soil, because you're going to be able to continue to cut better bushels for longer term with healthier soils. And one of my big things as a consultant is we need to farm for the next generation. This soil is not just for us to be using, it's for generations to come. And as I watch my growers and their young children grow, I want to make sure that when I'm done consulting and they're done farming, that their children are able to take it over and it to be the best soil that they can start with. By them pitching a biostimulant and not an actual microbe itself, that works great in Montana because these products can freeze. And one of our biggest things we struggle with during the planting season is April. It could be -3 degrees when you're trying to get going. So if you go out and seed when it's 50 degrees and 2 days later it's -15, -10 out of nowhere from a freak storm, which has happened many times, all those microbes that are not native to here, they're gone. Where the AgriGro products, they're not gone because they're food. They're feeding what's already there. And that's the big thing, is feeding that native species. And a lot of these other companies that have these trichodermas and other microbes, they're finding them in the soils out here. So what's the point of adding them if they're already there? So as we listened, we did the next best thing, which is we tried it, and we're gonna do test trials. And Nathan Keene, my client, was willing to do that. And we sat and we listened to Ross and said, great, we'll prove you wrong. Very similar stories to a lot of people. So as these other growers and consultants have said the same thing, that we're gonna prove Ross wrong, we gave it our try. The first year we tried it, we seeded spring wheat on recrop on low pH soils. And as low pH soils get worse, the microbe life begins to die, fertilizers become tied up, and the problems just get worse and worse. So we decided to go out there with the AgriGro products. We put down Seed Max and foliar blend and some AgriCal. And right out of the gate, we noticed larger root systems, more tillers per plant, the heads were bigger, and we saw a yield bump. So we always say the same thing though, is, well, we better do this for more than 1 year. So we're gonna try it for 2 or 3 more. And as my other clients began to hear, I got to have more and more guys say they wanted to try this. So I had another client after we had seen the results from Nathan's farm that wanted to try AgriGro as well. So we seeded winter wheat with the Seed Max and then hit it with the foliar blend in the spring with our herbicide pass. And in 2021, it was a bone dry drought. Rain turned off and it turned 100 degrees in June. But throughout the growing season, we noticed a line started to develop, and we did the same thing with Nathan's. We picked up the plants, looked at the roots, looked at the tillers, looked at the heads, and everything we saw said that the AgriGro test trial should cut better. And as we went to harvest, we had 1 combine and 1 grain cart that had a scale on it, because we can't trust a grain monitor on a combine. And we cut it. And we saw a 9 bushel increase where we used AgriGro. And ever since then, that farm has been full farm, and we have pulled all of our fungicides out of their winter wheat, and they were no matter what, we're spraying a fungicide on this wheat to protect it. And ever since that day, he has not used a fungicide on his winter wheat. And we have cut better bushels, and we've seen severely less pathogens and diseases. So we know that what Ross said back in the beginning is starting to work. And now with 300,000 acres, I can say that over 200,000 are being used with AgriGro West stuff, because we need to do a better job of farming where our soils are dying. And this is a way to feed those microbes and to take care of the soil so we can keep farming. So for guys that are looking to see if they want to try it, across my farm group, every year more and more guys are using it, and the guys that have used it are continuing to use it. And that's always the big thing with these products and these companies, is you see guys try it for 2 or 3 years and then they quit. And I have growers, Nathan Keene, a few other growers that have been full farm for 6, 7 years now. And the guys that are trying it are going full farm this year. So for guys that are trying to learn it, Ross will be the first guy to tell you, test trial it. If you don't believe me, try it. And one thing I will say is, don't try it 1 year. You need to try it for at least 3, and you need to do the program. But you will see a difference in your soils. You will see better grain quality, more bushels, healthier soils. And just remember, we don't need to farm like our dads did. There's a new era of farming, and it's okay to do something different.